Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Mr. and Mrs. Lee Hatzler. I'm going to interview them about what secret of marriage there are, being 65 years of marriage.
Okay, Lee, or Mom as it should be. Do you remember this first time he came up, or what was your first memory of Charlie?
I do remember him paying lunch, but I didn't pay too much attention because I was working in the dining room and I was very, very busy. But I do remember the next day that he came back to the campus and he was standing by the water fountain to get a drink, and he had the cutest knees. He had shorts on and had the cutest knees. And that's what I remember of him. And his dimples.
Remember his knees and his dimples. Okay. All right. Describe your first date. Do you remember when you asked her out?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do
Where did you
remember
go?
that first date request. I asked her to go out, and she looked at me and told me honestly that she had someone else she was going out that evening. I said, okay, how about another time? And she says, okay. Well, Lee, you tell them what happened that evening.
My date stood me up.
Oh.
I would never have done that. But anyway, he stood you up, and then I
did you
saw
get in touch?
that happen, and I think I then, well, could we spend some time together then? How about taking a walk with me out on the grounds of the college? And we talked, and that was our first real, it wasn't a date, but a real coming together.
Okay, cool. Lee, when after you dated for how long before you guys got serious, and when did Charlie pop the question, and how? Did say, hey, would you marry me?
Well,
How long did you date before that happened?
the total time was 9 months,
Okay,
and then we got married.
got it.
Oh, wow.
But you have to remember, we were together, except for bedtime. We ate breakfast together, we studied together, we,
A devotional life together,
you know, and
studied together.
that's what I said.
And being that it was a Christian college, obviously no sleeping together before marriage.
No,
right?
we had
Absolutely.
metal fire doors in between the men's dorm and the women's dorm.
Okay. Okay, so how did he ask you, hey Lee, would you be Mrs. Charles Hutzler?
Don't remember.
Okay then. You made an impression, Dad.
He did.
Dad, do you remember? Yeah, he's getting emotional. He remembered. And he's disappointed in Lee for forgetting.
I don't.
You don't remember either?
Recall the circumstances, other than we were getting to know each other pretty well, and the subject would come up, and I think our conversation gravitated toward some similar thoughts that maybe we could consider marriage, and so I don't know whether the question was asked by me or whether it was just an assumption that was made in our conversations. That's about all I remember. But we did make a decision.
All right, 65 years is a long time to be married. You've obviously had ups, you've had downs, as everybody does. What would you say was your biggest high in the top best experience in 65 years? And likewise, what was the lowest experience in 65 years of being married, if it's not too personal?
I think God gave us 3 children.
Is that a low or is that a high?
That's a
Oh,
high.
okay, I'm just checking. Okay,
It's a high.
all right.
Through
When you
adoption.
adopt 3 children and the people that helped us along the way was a miracle to me.
Okay, and just for a little bit of background, the two of you weren't able to have children for whatever reason medically, and so you adopted.
Yes.
Okay.
We got 2 in Missouri and 1 in Ohio.
Okay.
So what is the secret of your marriage? Why you keep 65 years of being married? What's the secret
Well,
that
allows
you
you
just
not to kill each other. basically.
that you're gonna give
That's a very bad term.
inspiration?
I do not like killing each other.
Yeah,
with-
inspiration.
Strangle.
Exactly, inspirations to all the couple getting a marriage that like very little, what you call that, Sweetheart? Very small things of marriage yet, and they give up. So what the
What was the secret to your longevity, basically?
The Lord. Our faith in the Lord. But I feel 59 weeks of quarantine was far harder than 65 years of married life.
Really? So you think the quarantine for COVID was the low point of the marriage?
Yes. It was
But
very
did you
stressful.
draw closer together because you obviously, being that you're in your 80s, you couldn't go out like a lot of younger people
No,
could,
you
and
could
you were
not.
kind of locked down. So did you grow closer together, or did you separate in the house and just didn't even want to see each other, or kind of a combination of both?
No, I think for me, I would go downstairs and sew, just to, not to talk and not to do any study together or anything like that. But
Some alone time.
just to have alone time away,
And
and
you,
I couldn't get away.
yeah, and you, Charlie?
Well, during these 18 months, so to speak, of quarantine,
No, it wasn't that long.
maybe
59
maybe 15 months approximately, whatever the time it was, we found new ways of communicating by being together so much of the time. However, that communication wasn't sufficient for me personally. And I don't think for Lee, I'm speaking on your behalf, because you would go downstairs and quilt. One of your favorite, if not the favorite pastime, to quilt and work in your sewing room. But it left me up here on this level, disenchanted for the first time. First time in 60 years, I've been away from people in ministry. I did not know how to handle that. And I prayed about that. There's a great scripture in Proverbs 3, 5-7 said, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding." I did not understand how this was going to work, being away from people. So I put it to prayer. And I thank God that He answers prayer, not on my timetable. If it were my will, I would have had that prayer answered right now. But God had a reason, maybe a testing time for me to continue to reflect on it, and He did finally answer the prayer, which I can eternally thank Him for, because I was able to still relate to people through conference calls. And the conference calls allowed me to interact with people on the telephone.
Okay.
Well, I think there's another chapter in that. Worst time was when in the military, I knew when I went into the Air Force as a chaplain that I would be sooner or later over in a combatant zone, Vietnam especially, and that's not fun being away from your wife and 2 children, but God provided again through that loneliness and through He is so faithful, and even in the midst of knowing your life could be over tomorrow with a rocket coming in or the enemy hitting us, troops over there. But I was fortunate to come back home, but that was a combined good chapter as well as bad chapter, because just being away from family, you miss them.